China's ambition to seize Taiwan, a prize valued for its strategic location, historical symbolism, and global dominance in semiconductors, is confronting an imposing new obstacle: the Philippines and the Bashi Channel. This narrow 90-mile-wide strait is no longer just a line on a map. It has become the fulcrum of a revitalized U.S.-Philippine alliance designed to block Beijing's path. The Philippines, once seen as a pliable neighbor, is now a strategic bastion, creating a southern pincer that directly threatens China's long-held invasion plans. Joint military drills have evolved into massive rehearsals for high-intensity war, and a network of alliances is tightening around China's periphery. What makes this maritime choke point so critical? How did the Philippines pivot so decisively to become a strategic barrier? And how does this new reality fundamentally alter the calculus for a potential conflict over Taiwan? An unavoidable geographic linchpin. Geography is the absolute foundation of military strategy, and in the Indo-Pacific, no feature is more critical to a Taiwan contingency than the Bashi Channel. This deep-water passage separating the Philippines' northernmost islands from Taiwan's southern coast is simultaneously a military choke point, an economic lifeline for Taiwan, an escape route for China's nuclear submarines, and a vulnerable artery for global data. For China, controlling this channel is a non-negotiable prerequisite for a successful invasion. For Taiwan and its allies, denying that control is paramount. The channel is one of two key gateways, the other being the Miyako Strait to the north, through which the People's Liberation Army Navy, or PLAN, must pass to break free from the first island chain and project power into the Pacific. PLAN military exercises repeatedly underscore this reality, with H-6K bombers and advanced fighters routinely flying through the channel to encircle Taiwan in a clear rehearsal for a blockade and intimidation campaign. For Taiwan, the Bashi Channel is an existential lifeline. It is the primary maritime approach to the port of Coercion, the island's largest commercial port. This single port is the lifeblood of Taiwan's economy, handling over 60% of its total cargo and processing nearly 9 million TEUs, or 20-foot equivalent units, of container traffic in 2023. A Chinese blockade of the Bashi Channel would effectively sever this artery, strangling Taiwan's economy and cutting it off from essential supplies of food, energy, and military hardware. Beyond surface traffic, the channel holds immense importance for undersea warfare. It is the most critical deep-water passage for the plan's submarine fleet to transit from its sanctuary at the Yulin Naval Base on Hainan Island into the Western Pacific. This base is home to China's Jing-class nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarines, which carry the nation's sea-based nuclear deterrent. For this second strike capability to be credible, the submarines must reach the deep, open ocean to hide from enemy anti-submarine warfare assets. The Bashi Channel is their only viable escape route, making it a central focus of U.S. surveillance and a potential nuclear flashpoint. Beneath the waves lies another layer of critical infrastructure, a dense web of undersea fiber optic cables. This digital artery carries nearly all internet traffic between Asia and North America. The concentration of these cables makes the channel a major point of vulnerability. This was starkly illustrated in early 2023 when Chinese-flagged vessels were implicated in the severing of cables connecting Taiwan's main island to the outlying Matsu Islands, knocking residents offline for weeks. This act of gray zone warfare, targeting Taiwan's digital lifeline with plausible deniability, is seen as a clear rehearsal for the opening hours of an invasion, designed to digitally isolate the island and sow chaos. For years, China's strategic planners likely viewed the Philippines as a secondary concern, a developing nation led by an administration under Rodrigo Duterte that openly courted Beijing and questioned its long-standing alliance with Washington. That calculation is now obsolete. Under President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., the Philippines has executed a stunning strategic pivot, transforming itself from a wavering partner into a formidable impediment to Chinese expansion. This realignment is not born of sentiment, but of a cold, hard assessment of national security, driven largely by China's own relentless aggression. The primary catalyst has been China's escalating campaign of coercion in the South China Sea, what Manila calls the West Philippine Sea. The constant use of water cannons, military-grade lasers, and ramming tactics against Philippine Coast Guard and civilian resupply vessels has made the threat from Beijing tangible and immediate. Simultaneously, the Marcos administration recognizes that a conflict over Taiwan, its closest northern neighbor, would spark a devastating regional crisis, starting with the need to evacuate nearly 200,000 Filipino workers living in Taiwan. This has led to a clear acknowledgement that Philippine security is inseparable from the stability of the Taiwan Strait. This new clarity has been operationalized through the reinvigoration of the 2014 Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement. After years of dormancy, the Marcos administration not only revived the agreement but expanded it, increasing the number of agreed locations for U.S. forces from 5 to 9. The strategic logic is razor-sharp and impossible to ignore. Of the 4 new U.S. access sites in the Philippines, 3 are positioned in the country's north, forming a southern pincer that stares straight into the Bashi Channel in Taiwan's underbelly. Naval Base Camilo Acias in Santa Ana puts U.S. forces just 150 miles from Taiwan's southern tip. Lalo Airport, also in Cagayan, gives rapid runway access for fighters and bombers. Camp Melchor de la Cruz in Isabela hosts ground forces ready to deploy at a moment's notice. Together, these bases don't just observe the Taiwan Strait, they sit coiled, ready to strike. These bases are situated less than 200 miles from Taiwan's southern coast. This positioning allows the U.S. and the Philippines to project military power directly into the Bashi Channel, monitor Chinese movements, deploy fighter jets, and, most importantly, position land-based missile systems that can hold Chinese naval and even mainland targets at risk. China's aggression in the south has directly fueled the creation of a strategic fortress in the north, turning a perceived weakness into a major roadblock for its primary ambition. The strategic realignment between Washington and Manila is not just on paper. It is being rapidly operationalized through a tangible military buildup that fundamentally alters the invasion calculus for Beijing. Joint exercises have been transformed into rehearsals for high-intensity war. Advanced U.S. weapons have been deployed for the first time on Philippine soil, and the alliance is being woven into a broader regional security network. The annual Balikatan shoulder-to-shoulder exercises have evolved dramatically. Once focused on counter-terrorism, they are now massive multi-domain drills for territorial defense. The 2023 exercise was the largest ever, involving over 17,600 troops and culminating in the live-fire sinking of a mock enemy warship in the South China Sea. The 2024 and 2025 exercises continued this trend, integrating forces from allies like Australia and Japan and focusing on coastal defense drills in the northernmost Batanes Islands, less than 125 miles from Taiwan. The most explosive shift came in April 2024, when the U.S. Army deployed its cutting-edge mid-range capability system, Typhon, straight to northern Luzon, just 190 miles from Taiwan. This mobile land-based launcher is a force multiplier. It can fire the SM-6 missile, a 280-mile multi-role weapon that can smash ships, shoot down aircraft, or hit land targets. But the real bombshell? Tomahawk cruise missiles, 1,550-mile precision capable of striking deep into the Chinese mainland. With Typhon in play, Beijing now faces a U.S. strike radius that reaches major military assets in minutes. It's no longer a buffer zone, it's a launchpad. The deployment of a system with this reach to northern Luzon is revolutionary. From bases in the Philippines, Tomahawk missiles can strike deep into the Chinese mainland, placing key PLA naval bases, airfields, and the critical economic hubs of the Pearl River Delta, including Shenzhen and Hong Kong, at risk. This creates a potent new threat from China's southern flank, fundamentally complicating its anti-access area denial strategy, which is designed to keep U.S. forces at a distance. A mobile, hard-to-target land-based system forces the PLA to divert immense resources to counter this threat, pulling attention and assets away from the Taiwan Strait. This operationalized deterrence is being further strengthened by integrating the alliance into a wider network. Trilateral summits between the US, Japan, and the Philippines are now routine. This mini-lateralism creates a network effect where an attack on one is seen as a threat to all, forcing PLA planners to account for a multi-front conflict against a coalition of capable, interoperable forces. Coercion and Disinformation. Facing a rapidly solidifying deterrence posture to its south, China has responded not with a conventional military counter but with a campaign of asymmetric gray zone warfare. This strategy combines physical coercion at sea with a relentless information war designed to intimidate the Philippines, undermine its alliance with the US, and control the public narrative. At sea, China employs its massive China Coast Guard and a fleet of maritime militia vessels to harass Philippine resupply missions. The tactics have grown increasingly violent. In a significant escalation in June 2024, Chinese personnel swarmed a Philippine naval mission, brandishing axes, spears, and knives, resulting in a Filipino sailor losing a thumb. By using its Coast Guard and militia, Beijing attempts to inflict damage while staying below the threshold of an armed attack that would formally invoke the US-Philippines Mutual Defense Treaty. While Chinese ships threaten Filipino sailors at sea, an invisible war rages online, one fueled by Beijing's billion-dollar disinformation machine. Flooding state-run outlets and bot-infested platforms, China spreads lies on an industrial scale. Manila is branded the villain, the US cast as a puppet master, and Filipinos painted as mindless pawns. A deepfake of President Marcos allegedly declaring war on China went viral overnight, rattling public trust. Over 30 million Filipinos engage with social media daily, prime targets for algorithmic manipulation. This isn't just propaganda. It's digital warfare engineered to fracture a nation's spirit before a single shot is fired. And it's working. The Philippines has countered with a transparency initiative, embedding journalists on its patrol vessels and publicizing high-quality video of Chinese aggression. This has been highly effective in exposing Beijing's actions to the world, but the information battlefield remains a critical and ongoing front. The emergence of the Philippines as a strategic bulwark forces a fundamental recalibration of any PLA invasion scenario. A cross-strait operation is no longer a localized affair. The PLA must now contend with a hostile southern flank that poses an immediate threat to its invasion forces in mainland staging areas. It must either divert a substantial portion of its forces to neutralize the threat from the Philippines, risking a wider war with a U.S. treaty ally, or proceed with the invasion while accepting a high degree of attrition to its forces transiting the Bashi Channel. This new dynamic has created immense complications, but critical questions remain. Can the U.S.-Philippine alliance survive future political shifts in Manila or Washington? Will the Philippines acquire its own long-range missile systems, further strengthening the deterrent? And will China, frustrated by this new roadblock, escalate its gray zone tactics and risk a miscalculation that could spiral into a major conflict? The Philippines, by virtue of its geography and a deliberate strategic choice, has transformed from a footnote in China's Taiwan plans into a decisive factor. The Bashi Channel is no longer an open gateway, but a fortified choke point. This new reality significantly raises the costs and risks of aggression for Beijing, strengthening deterrence in the Indo-Pacific. The once overlooked archipelago has become an indispensable pillar in the effort to maintain regional stability, proving that the strategic choices of middle powers can fundamentally alter the global balance of power. Is this new southern wall strong enough to prevent a war? Or has it simply raised the stakes in Asia's most dangerous flashpoint? Share your thoughts below.